Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Grow Wealthy Grooming. I'm just going to get everything set up and then we can begin. And I don't know if you can see Rory, she just refused to get out of the room today. That's my standard poodle. Rory, come say hi to everybody. Oh, no, she's like, no. Yes, I know, isn't it funny? Like you can't see black poodles all. She's a party poodle. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, we're going to start the show. Can you go lay down? No. She's a good girl. Go lay down. Hopefully she'll stay nice and quiet for us. All right, guys. So I want to welcome you back to our weekly show, Grow Wealthy Grooming. If this is your first time joining us, please consider hitting the like button, commenting, or subscribing. Excuse you. Be quiet. So you never miss another video. I'm your host, River Lee. I'm the founder of the Savvy Groomer. As we know, too many groomers are burnt out and broke. Make sure I move my thing closer so you know it's live. You know, at Savvy Groomer, we teach pet professionals how to make a simple financial plan so they have money in the bank at the end of the day. At Savvy Groomer, we know you want to be the savvy pet professional with a paycheck you wouldn't mind others seeing. In order to do that, we need to know how to manage your finances so you can keep more of what you make. The problem is you have no idea what you're actually bringing in or where it all goes, which makes you feel overwhelmed, helpless, and wondering if things will ever change. You've been putting in the time but don't have anything to show for it. We believe no one should have to groom till they die. I totally understand. I went from living in my car to owning multiple grooming businesses. I use my expertise to work with clients internationally and have a proven track record. So this week's topic is going to be no calls, no shows, no respect. So let's go ahead and begin. So let's talk about the basic cost of a no-show. And we're going to, for this sake, I'm being pushed by a poodle. Well, we're going to assume a no-call, no-show is basically somebody who either cancels within your policy period, which my personal period is 48 hours, yours could be 24 hours, or even same day. By no call, I don't necessarily mean that they don't call when they come in, but they don't give you enough time to replace them. So I figured a nice round number we could use is a dog groom about $50, okay? So if you have one dog at $50 that does not show up to your shop, it may seem like a small loss, but I want you to think about this. At $50, if you have one dog, no call, no show, 1 day a week for 50 weeks, I'm going to assume you take 2 weeks off due to illness or vacation, slow times, your business would lose $2,500 a year. That's a lot of money, but it gets even worse. So for some of your bigger shops, let's say you have multiple groomers, if you have one dog at $50, no call, no show, once a day, again, assuming 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year, that's $250 a week or $12,500 a year. That's a lot of money. That basically covers half of a bather. You know, that's a lot of money that could go into payroll. You know, that is, for some of you guys, a year's worth of rent. That is a tremendous amount of money. And again, for you shops that have, let's say, 3-4 groomers, that could be one dog per groomer per day for some of your shops. And guys, I always want to welcome you to please feel free to put anything in the comments. I will be keeping an eye on it. So if you have any questions or need some clarification, always let me know, okay? Okay, so let's talk about why your clients no call or no show. And again, I'm going to give you my perspective, but I would love anything you guys want to add. So I would say one of the number one reasons that people no call, no show is simply human error. So I want to ask you, do you do reminders, ideally on multiple platforms, and give to your clients in advance? For instance, you know, for those of you guys that are grooming dogs 6, 8 or more intervals, are you sending email reminders a week in advance? I know some of you guys are thinking that's kind of crazy. Why would I send it a week in advance? Well, if I book something 2 or 3 months ago, the likelihood I'm going to remember it is slim to none. A lot of times I can't remember what I booked 2 weeks ago, never mind 2 months ago. So giving them a week to look at their week ahead, shift things around is a great way to do that. And email is really nice because email gives you a lot of time in between. Now, if they have to move things around, maybe move from Wednesday to Friday, or even move the next week, or even maybe a few days early, that allows them plenty of time and allows you the flexibility to accommodate that. Another way, maybe a phone call or a text, 72 hours in advance for those that are grooming monthly. Not necessarily your clients that are coming in every 1 or 2 weeks. Those clients are probably, they kind of know the rhythm. They may even have a standing appointment. But those that are groomed monthly, I have a 48-hour notice that they have to do, otherwise they get charged. So 72 hours to me is fair. That gives them 24 hours to decide if they need to reschedule their appointment. And if they do so, great. If they don't, then there are fees. For those of you guys that are, especially you guys that are mobile, and I know we're talking about salons, but I personally love to give someone a text either the morning of, but ideally the night before. And the reason is I want to be the first thing they think about. How am I going to get Fluffy to the groomers tomorrow? Or, oh yeah, I almost forgot. The groomers are, for me, mobile. They're coming tomorrow morning. So I better put the kitty in the carrier, or I better put the cat in the bathroom in the morning. And that might be something I would put into the text message. We can get into that a little bit more later. And a lot of you guys may be saying, it's not my responsibility to mother them and remind them because they're adults. Okay, so let's be real here. The world is becoming more and more busy. And if you want them to remember, then take the time. And nowadays, there's so many options for software. You can get a VA, which is called a virtual assistant. And if you have one dog a week that no calls, no shows, that would pay for that software or a VA to do that. It's also fairly easy nowadays with cell phones. If you have a shop cell phone, which I do, to just copy and paste your appointments with the same, script. So have your script in a little folder, and just copy and paste the name. And so, blah, 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 Fluffy has an appointment tomorrow at insert time. And then like a little blurb about whatever policy it is that you want to remind them. And it's really, really easy to do. And it really doesn't take a lot of time. Now, for you guys with bigger salons, you're better off investing in software. And honestly, one of the best things I did was I have Mogo, which has that in it, which I really enjoyed. And before that, I had 123 Pet, which I also love. And they have that where it used to send automatic emails and text messages to my salon's people. I just personally liked doing them myself because then I also was double checking all of my appointments. But again, everyone is so different when it comes to stuff like this. And the other thing I want to point out is that this is going to create a healthier bond with your clients because it creates an open communication. A lot of times we don't want to talk with our clients, but we need to be able to have that open dialogue in case if there's a problem or a question. I don't want my client to go online or post on Yelp. I want them to ask me a question. I want them to feel comfortable with who I am in order to ask me all of these questions. The last thing I want these clients to do is to Google the question and end up on one of these crazy forums, especially with cat grooming, get bad advice, be like, you're trying to kill my cat, or whatever crazy nonsense that people are going to come up with because the internet is full of crazies. I would rather them say, hey, I noticed this. What is this? Is this something to be worried about? And I may say, I don't know, you need to call your vet. Or I may say, yes, this is normal behavior. But the way to create that bond and that open communication is to actually talk and communicate with clients and make them feel comfortable talking with you. And on that same line, I actually really think you should consider doing a follow-up call 2 to 3 days after the groom. Now, this may be every time for some clients that are kind of either fussy or need a little bit of TLC. And I'm not talking about having full-blown conversations. Just literally, hey, how is Fluffy's groom? How does Fluffy feel? Does he look beautiful? Are you happy? Is there anything you'd like me to change next time? Ba, 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 ba. Okay, great. I'll see you next time at this time. Or, hey, you noticed you didn't make an appointment when you left. Did you want to book him in for Friday the 23rd at 5 p.m. or whatever it is? Okay, great. So, and that again creates know, like, and trust. They feel appreciated, and you have another opportunity to book that appointment. And people, if they like you, generally don't no call, no show. That's just the truth. They don't want to disappoint you. I had a situation where it was really inconvenient for me to go to a nail appointment, which sounds really silly, but I get dip and I get it done every 2 weeks because otherwise my nails crack, especially in the water. But it was really inconvenient for me to go the next morning, but the salon had already closed. But I felt really guilty calling her and the woman that does my nails, Rose. I didn't want to put her out. So I rearranged all of my schedule the next day to accommodate Rose versus just leaving a voicemail saying, "Oh, I can't show up tomorrow. It's inconvenient for me." And a lot of that is A, because I'm not a piece of shit, but it's also because I really like Rose and I respect her. And therefore, I'm going to, not take money out of her pocket. So, but a lot of that comes down to building a relationship. And I think a lot of times we forget that we're so used to building the relationship with the dog, but we need to build the relationship with the wallet, which is on the other end of the purse, which is the person. I know we're not people, but on some level we have to be because you can't build a relationship with just the dog and expect the owner to be loyal. So, and again, you're not their mother, but you cannot say in one breath that you want high end clients and then the next that you're not their mother. Impeccable customer service includes gentle, respectful reminders. I want you to think about the customer service at a place like a doctor's office. They don't always call, and when they do, they're pretty rude. Like it's just very cut and blank. Um, and they do have that kind of, I'm not your mother. I shouldn't have to do this. This is stupid. Blah, 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 blah. And they don't tell you any of their policies. It just always feels very cold. However, for those guys that go to places like Massage Envy or even just to a regular spa, they always, always call, text, email. They remind you every time. And I don't know where you guys are, but where I am, the spas I go to, and it does depend. It doesn't matter if it's a facial or it's a massage or whatever it is. It's always, you need to come at this time, just a reminder. You need to show up 15 minutes early to fill out paperwork. You're going to need to be able to change and shower before you go into, let's say, into the certain parts of the spa. Certain things like don't wear any perfume or whatever their policies are, the receptionist goes over them. And that's really important. And then they ask me if I have any questions. And I want you to think about that versus the doctor's office, which is just a quick reminder if I'm lucky. Especially things like dentist reminders. I'm there twice a year. And I swear they just think that I'm going to magically remember it twice a year. And I'm only human. I've got it in my phone, but phones are not 100%. And I have the little appointment card. But if any of you guys have human children or even four-legged children, those get eaten. They fall off the counter. They fall off it gets covered. I have all these business cards stuck on my fridge, but then I've got kid artwork over them. So things like that just get lost. So, and I'm only human. And again, I want you to think about who you want as a client and how you're going to treat them, because the way you want to treat them is the way they should want to be treated. And again, I know that sounds really silly, but if you think about anywhere that is more high end, and a lot of you guys keep talking about how you want higher paying clients, you have to treat them like they want to be treated. Otherwise, they're going to go find somebody else who will. Another reason that they may no call, no show is because you've confused them. This happens way more times than we want to admit. Is there a way for them to double check their appointment? And I'm not talking about calling you, leaving you a voicemail because you're grooming all day. Then, you call them back and they miss that appointment. Miss the call with the appointment information. Or maybe they're not the kind of person that checks their voicemail very often. They're like, I think it's this week, but I can't remember. Is there a way for them to check their appointment? Um, you know, that's a great question. Is it via a confirmation? I love email or text confirmations because then they always have it in their phone. You know, once they make the appointment, either a text message, email, or your software ideally would send them an automatic confirmation. That way, they have it right there on their phone or they have it right there in their email. And for those of you guys that are doing appointment cards and you're handing it to them, is it legible? I do not have the best handwriting. I have carpal tunnel in both my hands, and some days my hands are more shaky than others. But I make it a real point to make sure what I've written is really clear. I've also gotten to the point where I write the day of the week, the month, and the day, obviously, and then the time. And I do that. And the reason I do that is because, let's say if I look really quick, and let's say I'm doing December, I don't even know what day it is. I feel like I'm all kinds of crazy. So today is Monday the 16th. So if I wrote Tuesday the 16th, then at some point, one of us is going to catch that. Either I'm going to catch that and go, wait a minute, I'm so sorry. You're in on Monday. And again, this is where I would also do 72 hours where they have plenty of time to reschedule. If I wrote down, the 16th, they said, oh, I'm so sorry. I thought it was the 17th because you wrote Tuesday, or there's some sort of discrepancy. That allows them to figure it out. And again, we all are human. We all make mistakes. The way I do my booking is I write down their appointment and I just hand it to them. I don't give them an option. I just hand it to them. And then if for some reason that doesn't work, then they contact me and we go through it. So I hand them the card. It's up to them by the end of the day to let me know if that does not work, and then I can shuffle the appointments around. And again, everyone does everything different. That's the way I do mine. And I do want you to, again, consider having an online booking system, or at least confirmations, because then they can double check. I will say I intentionally seek out places that have online booking, mostly because if you send me a 72-hour reminder and I realize I can't do it, I don't want to play phone tag. So I will go online with their online booking, and then swap mine over. And I know sometimes this is like for mobile, this is really not an option for me because where I am and how I set my days up is very different. But for those of you guys with shops, it might be worth something considering, because a lot of clients, especially your bath clients, are going to want to shift things around, because if they have a bath dog, a lot of times people that have labs, Goldens, boxers, they tend to be young families, and young family schedules change wildly. And so they might have booked something 4, 6, 8 weeks ago, and now they just need to reshuffle their week. And you can either play phone tag with them, or you can give them the option of moving around their online booking. So what about another reason? And this might hurt your heart a little bit, but they're not loyal. And I want to ask you a question. Why should they be loyal? And most people, when I say to them, and this is true in every industry I ever talk with, again, I deal with people in the nail salon industry, the eyelash studios. I've dealt with hair salons, and literally every owner I talk to, that's not true, not every, but 9 times out of 10, I say, why are your clients loyal? Why do they pick you? And it's always, I do the best haircut. I'm great at color. They love my designs. But most people don't pick quality as their number one point. And the customers that do are very, very particular. They are the nitpicky clients. If their number one most important thing is quality, then guess what? If you done goofed, you're going to hear about it. Versus a client that if you say, look, Fluffy moved a little bit and, unfortunately this happened and like there's a little chunk missing. because Fluffy was a spaz today, or which, let's be real, everyone's done that. Everyone's had the clipper pop off. You know what I mean? Like the comb, and it pops off like on a golden butt, and then there's like a giant hole, and it doesn't matter how much you blend, that hole's not going away. Or the dog, you're doing the side of its face, and the dog does this, and then you're missing like a hunk here, and you're like, well, do you want me to make it even, or you want to like have them kind of, you know, little goofy for a few weeks? We've all done that. And most of my clients, thankfully, because of the way I've chosen to brand myself, understand that, you know, it's always humanity before vanity. It is always, we're going to do our best, but whatever is emotionally best for the animal is going to be what we're going to do. And so my client is actually more interested in customer service and the well-being of their animal versus the best haircut. And we've all had those clients where the best haircut is what they care about. And those are generally the clients that want you to demat the very matted dog and will not accept a shave down. And that's a whole nother conversation. But I want you to really think about, again, why these customers pick you. And if your answer is the best haircut, I want you to step back and say, besides that. Okay. So oftentimes, you know, people only know you're the best groomer in whatever thing they're happy about. And that's by going to other shops and realizing how crappy they are. And then guess what? You get to fix it. So if I have a dog and you groom my dog and my dog looks great, and then I'm like, well, she's expensive, or well, she's inconvenient, or well, I'm not really appreciated here. Let me go down the street, or maybe down the street has a Groupon, and then it's a crappy haircut. But when I come back, it's no big deal. And now not only do I had a crappy haircut, but then I waited 8 weeks and then you fixed it for free. And that groomer was half the price. So did you charge more to fix the haircut when they went to the cheaper shop? Or was it the same price if they had come to you every time? And I'm not saying give them a stupid tax or be unreasonable. A lot of times it's so good when they go to another shop and they get terrible customer service, or if they treat their animal like crap, which sounds awful. I know, I'm sorry, but the little true. They're like, haha, I told you we were better. Na, 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 na. And then they're like, holy shit, I didn't realize how often my groomer was. And then they come running back. And sometimes you're like, that must have been a fluke. And they'll kind of keep bouncing. And we all know those clients that bounce. They're generally the same client that calls same day, or wants to get in within a few days, or hasn't been groomed since August and wants to come in before Thanksgiving or Christmas. It's always that client. They're some of the worst clients. But create a little bit of distance. So that client that's going to no call, no show, maybe they booked an appointment with the last groomer because they groomed over there, and then they came back to you. And then maybe they booked with the other groomer, but they also booked with you because they didn't feel like they could say no booking, or they figured, let me book with both of them and I'll cancel it. You know, whichever one, you know, it has the better price, or it's more convenient, or I'm going to be on this side of town, whatever the reason. My dad does appliance repair. He's actually passed away, but he had an appliance repair business for a long time. And people would actually book the same day because there are these open windows with like 3 or 4 companies. And whoever got there first, now they wouldn't tell these companies, whoever got there first got the job. And, you know, that's what a lot of people do because they're assholes and they don't think about the small business owner. But that's not uncommon. So if they're not loyal, think about that. And how you're going to create a healthy boundary if they do want to bounce from shop to shop. And I would figure that out because every shop wants to handle it different. If I had a client, I've had clients that would go to me 1 month and then the next month go to the shittier shop because it was literally like $25. And then they would come back in and the dog wasn't particularly long, but they wanted basically like a cleanup, but the dog was, it was so uneven. It was so uneven. You ever look at a dog and you're like, did you pay someone to do this? Or are you just saying you paid someone to do this? And unfortunately, I knew exactly the shop she went to because they all came out like that. And I mean, now mind you, I'm a pretty mediocre dog groomer. Like cat groomer, I'm fantastic. Dog grooming, pretty mediocre. So it just shocked me. But that's what they did is I charged 55, 65, and they charged 25. So they'd have her like strip the dog down head to toe. And then the dog would come in and be fairly fluffy, and I would make the dog look cute for a month. And then they go buzz it down. And they just did this. And it was so much more work because instead of just doing a proper shave, which is the easy job, I literally had to like thinning shear the whole goddamn dog. And so I flat out told him, yeah, this haircut is taking me double the amount of time instead of what it should be. So, I got charged an extra $25. Well, then it was just more convenient for them to come to my shop every 4 weeks. And then lo and behold, they appreciated that their dog always looked nice. So it was a win-win, but it did take a little bit of putting my foot down. And I know that's not necessarily about no-shows, but the clients that do things like that are far more likely to no call, no show because they don't care, because they'll just go somewhere else. And that's really shitty, but that's the truth. And on the flip side, the clients that are super loyal, do you reward their loyalty or are you only rewarding people who come to your shop for the first time? I made a big mistake when I had a Groupon. I actually now this is like 8 years ago now, maybe even 9. I had a Groupon for when my shop was I think it was open about 6 months to a year. Now I sold a lot of Groupons. I had like 800 Groupons. It was enormous and it was crazy. But the way I did it was that it was a bath and a blow dryer on the Groupon, but they could pay to upgrade to a haircut. Now, Groupon's changed a lot. Now, I wouldn't suggest it. You make no money. Like, I think we were charging for a small dog for a bath and a blow dry. I think it ended up being like $20 when I was normally $35 for a bath and a blow dry. And then they could add on for $20 more a haircut, within reason. Then there were stipulations in this and that. It wasn't matted, etc. So that said, I had a lot of my customers. Now, these were only for new customers because you only get half of a Groupon. So I was getting $10, which didn't even cover my staff, never mind my products, if I had a bath and blow dry Groupon. So that really sucked, especially because they didn't pay you right away. They would like get a batch and then pay you. So I could be waiting like 6 months to get that money. So it was really difficult. Now it was great because I got great clients from it, but it was also tough because I also got a crap ton of the worst clients. Anyway, I digress. But with that, I had those clients, and the mistake I made was I had the clients that were very loyal by Groupons. And I was mad at them. I'm like, I appreciate you. I can't afford to lose money. And a lot of their clients, like the clients had like their mother had bought them a Groupon. So like, oh, we've got like 4 Groupons. And I'm like, I can't groom your dog for the next 4 to 6 months to do that. And instead of just explaining the situation, I was very rude and indignant. I was like, this is, only for new clients. And I actually lost some of my best 4-week clients at that time because I didn't think to myself, how am I rewarding their loyalty? The clients that are good, regular clients. Why are we only, rewarding new clients? And we feel that way too with cable. Don't you hate when you've had cable for like 4 years and somebody who starts new gets it for like a fourth of the price that you do? No one likes that. So think about it. The clients that come in every 1, 2, 4 weeks, what is something they get treated special? Or how are you making them feel valued? And the reason why is pretty simple. People that feel valued be loyal. And clients that are loyal and feel valued don't no call, no show. Clients that are feeling like you care about them, care about their dog, they're special, they're important, they don't blow you off. They don't. Like I said with Rose, even though it was super inconvenient for me, I was not going to blow off her appointment. And I wasn't even going to no call, no show. I wasn't even willing to call her the night before because I didn't want to take money out of her pocket because I respected her and she's really nice to me and she takes care of me. And there's a lot of good, positive things relationship wise. What are you doing? You know, again, people that feel like they're just a number or a body are more likely to no call, no show. Are you chatting with your clients? And I'm not talking like having full blown conversations. Most of the time, we don't have energy or time for that. But what are you doing to make them feel special? Are you showing them through your words or small touches? Whether it's them or their pets. Again, a lot of times we focus all of our energy creating relationships with their dog that they don't see. Um, I can't even tell you how many times I feel now. Remember, I've been a groomer over 10 years, and having my dog go to a groomer has been so eye-opening because, I bring her in and I don't want to hang out and chat, but it's literally like I hand the dog over and it's hi, she's cute, same as usual. Okay, we'll give you a call. I love my groomer, but I don't feel special. I don't feel um like I'm cared for or anything. I just feel like I'm a body. It's like the deli counter. And honestly, like I go there because I know my dog is safe, she's comfortable, and she gets a good groom. If I could find the same things closer, if I could find the same things with somebody who was made me feel more valued, I definitely jump ship, even if it was 20 or $30 more a month, or even if it was farther away. These are things I value. And that's what's nice about me is I understand my client really well because we have a lot of the same things that we like. So I thought it was really interesting for me as a client to see the other side. And I did this a lot I definitely don't do this with my mobile clients, but I did this a lot in the beginning with my grooming clients. And then I actually hired a receptionist to be the person they could chat with, be the person that they could connect with, create a sense of community. And that will stop no shows because, again, I'm not the kind of person who generally no calls, no show. But in the worst part, and this is just very honest, I would be more likely to cancel on my groomer than I would my nail lady, which is crazy because that's not who I am as a person. But if I had had the same appointment with Rory, my standard poodle, the next day, I don't know if I would have moved everything around to accommodate Rory's groomer. And it's because of the way I feel like a number. I don't, and this is an award winning groomer. She's amazing. Her shop's great. But you don't feel like you matter. You just don't. And creating those relationships are so important. So I want to move on from that because here's the other question. What if you're just not their ideal? I'm sorry, what if they're not your ideal customer? So I don't know whether or not I am that groomer's ideal client. I don't. But I know my own personal clients. You know, I know that clients generally use you because you're convenient, you're cheap, could just be a habit because you're close by, they've been going to you for 20 years. Um, you know, again, I know we can talk about quality, but quality is always a sketchy point. So why are they using you? And if again, someone is more convenient, more cheap, closer, does the same quality, are they more likely to jump ship? And when they jump ship, are they going to give you a call and cancel the appointment? We don't talk about it very often, but a lot of people are too embarrassed to break up with you. They don't want to call you and tell you they're not coming back. That could have been because they had a bad experience, and that's not really a bad haircut. Maybe they just didn't like you. Maybe you hired a groomer who's really kind of rough around the edges, or said something that they didn't like. And again, you don't always have that open communication. And so I want you to look at it from the why they're no call no showing. So, and again, maybe they're wanting to find a better deal and on a whim they jump to another groomer because they're not completely sure they like you that much, but you work for now. And then when you don't, I mean, we hear it all the time in relationships, don't we? We talk about how people are ghosting people. We've become this society of avoiding contact. I'm not avoiding contact, avoiding not contrast. What's the word I want? Confrontation. Thank you. I know no one's like, oh, I didn't say anything. I'm avoiding confrontation. Maybe they are no call, no showing because they don't want to break up with you. They don't want to tell you, hey, I'm sorry. And a lot of times they always make some weird lie, right? Like, oh, I can't come in because X, Y, and Z. You know, what if they just don't like you enough and they don't care that you're going to miss out on work? They don't care because you've built up a relationship and they found somebody who's either nicer or better and they booked that appointment or you booked that appointment and it's just not worth it to them to cancel that appointment, which is really fucked up. But you have to admit, how many times have we ever, started on a dating site and we met someone who we're like, I don't really like you that much. And then they get kind of needy or get weird and we just don't message them back. It's become way more of a social norm. And because of that, if they don't see you as a person, they're not going to see you as a person. They're not going to feel bad for no call, no showing. These are generally the same kind of people that, put something on hold at a store and then just never come back because they didn't have to put a deposit down. Okay, so let's move into one of the most hard-hitting reasons that they may no call, no show is they don't respect you. I know, ow, right in the heart. Part of that could be policies. Do you have clear policies that the client can easily access? Clients that are generally in every 1, 2, or 4 weeks will probably be accustomed to your policies if they're posted up front versus a client that's in every 6 or 8 weeks or even longer. Those clients only look at your policies, if they look at them at all, 6 times a year. No one is even reading their iTunes policies. I can't think of, my doctor has policies that are like 4 pages long. Do you think I've ever read them? Have you? Honestly, and if you have, how many years ago? Could you tell me 3 of their policies? Never mind all of them. So just think of that. And then think about, do you really think that they understand why these policies are, how strict the policies are? They don't understand why. Perfect example. I tell my clients for mobile that I have a pretty wide window. I have about an hour, but sometimes it's a 2-hour window if they're the last client of the day. And I tell them that I give them a 30-minute warning. And I had a client say to me, well, it's really unfair that you've given me a 2-hour swing, but I have to you're only giving me a 30-minute warning. And I just explained that I'm giving you a 30-minute warning when I'm done with the cat before me. And if you want a guaranteed time, I'm happy to book you as the first appointment. And I said, the truth is, as I'm going through each cat, this cat may take a little bit more time. This cat may take a little less time. And I don't want to be sitting around for 2 hours waiting to show up for you. And at the same time, I'm not willing to rush those other cats no differently than you don't want me to rush your cat. And when they realized that, they understood the policy. So for you guys, with your no call, no shows, do they understand the policy? When you make a change, you add in your appointment reminders or your business cards, point it out each time until they get it. I love text messages, the 72-hour ones, explaining the cancellation policy. What I do is, something simple like a gentle reminder. We require 48 hours cancellation, which can be done. And I always tell them how they can because clients will cancel via Facebook, they will cancel via email, they'll leave a voicemail, they'll send a text message. How do you want them to cancel? Um, Sorry, itchy nose. How do you want them to cancel your appointment? Do you want them to give a call? I personally don't, and I'll tell you why. Because I want it in writing that they've canceled. Why? Because if they call and it's an employee, and right now, I understand that we're all like, oh, employees. I don't want it to be, I called and talked to Sophia, and I'm like, we don't have a Sophia. And I told her I canceled. And then I have to go, okay, did my employee Samantha cancel and just forget to take it out of the computer? Or is she just full of shit? And I don't want to play that game. I don't want to play that game. So it's easier for me to simply write back something like text back if you want us to call to reschedule. Very simple. I can still call them to reschedule instead of playing phone tag. But at least then they give me something in writing that they wanted to change or they confirmed it. Either way, I have it in writing. That way, God forbid, I get a text message that day and say, oh, we had an appointment at 2. Where are you? And I'm like, well, actually, I see on the text message and I take a quick screenshot and send it to them. It looks like you rescheduled. And then they can say, oh my God, you're absolutely right. I had done this. And that's obviously if I no call, no showed instead of them no calling, no showing. But if that happens in reverse, where you're like, hey, we had this appointment on Friday at 2. Where are you? Is everything okay? And again, I would always say, are you okay? Because you don't know what happened. I mean, they could have come home to their father dead or, found out their husband has cancer. You don't ever know what's going on in their life. And I always, after what happened with me with the twins, I really have so much pity for people that are suffering on the inside and you don't know. Like, I was an absolute mess for months emotionally and it wasn't outwardly shown. And I could just imagine being that like snarky groomer, like, ow, why'd you now call no show? I'm sorry. I almost died and my kids did die. Do you want to like go fuck yourself? So be kind to people. You have no idea what is going on in their life. So, I know it's a little preachy. I don't mean to be preachy, but seriously, you don't know what's going on. So always ask them, is everything okay? And then you're going to get your people like, oh yeah, I just forgot. And if they just forgot, okay, go back. Did you message them? Did you send them an email? Oh, we sent you an email. Is this the right email address? Did you get the wrong email? Oh yeah, it's not, Fluffy's mom 123. It's Fluffy's mom 111. Or it's not at Gmail, it's at Yahoo. Well, that sucks. And again, that's why I prefer multiple platforms. Be like, okay, well, we sent you the email and that's the right email. And there was a text message. And this is obviously the same phone we sent the text message to. And, we did in the text message let you know that there was a 48-hour cancellation policy. And what we do is that if it's 48 hours, it's a 50% charge. If it's less than 24 hours, it's 100% charge. And that's when you get to decide if you want to enforce it. And we're going to go over that in 1 second. But by doing those steps, if they no call, no show, you've layered everything so that there's no reason you can't enforce this. Now, if something bad happened to them, that's up to you how much grace you want to have. I have a client where someone's always dying. I think her entire family at this point has been killed off, some of them more than once. And, that's a client that is always last of the day. So now I just have an early day done. But that kind of client, you could be more creative. It's not a no call, no show, but it is generally within 48 hours where they cancel and reschedule. And that kind of client, I personally have done the last. I would never let them be the first of the day, even if they beg me, because I don't want to start early. I don't want to start late. I want to end my day early. So that's how I do mine. And I would strongly suggest personally having a card on file, taking deposits, having something that if they no call, no show, how are you going to enforce that? How do you want to enforce that? And I want you to honestly plan on how you're going to enforce these rules and not just enforce them, but who is going to enforce them? And how are you going to do that without creating a mob on social media to come after you? And for those of you guys that have no idea what I'm talking about, if you create an impossible policy, for instance, let's say if I don't call, I don't email, I don't give any reminders, no appointment cards, and I require a 48-hour notice. If I just charge that client 100% and there's no layering, there's no defense on my end, by me being able to say, well, I send them an email a week in advance. And then I send them a text 72 hours in advance with the policy in the text. And then I send them a text the night before, and then she still no call, no showed. The mob will always do what it wants to do. But at least then I've been pretty reasonable. And most clients that are going to fight that are generally not going to make another appointment. They're not going to go into full social media mob insanity. The people that do that feel like you've honestly wronged them. I remember that I worked for a massage company. Well, I shouldn't say massage company. I don't want to say it was a spa. It wasn't quite a spa. They basically only did massages at a chiropractor. And they worked there for a couple of months. And because they were more of a doctor's office, didn't do reminders. And they charged 100% if you no call, no showed. And there would always be these screaming people because they would book their once a year chiropractic visit and a massage and completely forgot because they had booked it 6 months to a year ago. And then they get charged like $400. And they're like, I totally forgot. No one messaged me. No one emailed me. And their feeling very much was, well, we're not your mother. This was up to you. And they had a lot of angry people. And because of that, they ended up getting rid of their massage because the person that worked there got really tired of having really pissed off customers, a lot of no call, no shows. It was very inconsistent and they were really unhappy. So, it is what it is. But that makes it really hard for the client to remember. Clients are only human. I don't know about you guys. If I book something 6 months or a year in advance, I'm never going to remember it. A month in advance, I'm going to know at some point that month I have an appointment, but without it being on my phone and getting regular reminders, I'm just not that good. I have so many other things going on. If you're going to take deposits, have cards on file, please make sure that you're doing that in a way that is legal. Every state is different. I love Square for that. A lot of these programs that are grooming software will legally do that. Make sure you're doing with that. Don't write a credit card information down on a piece of paper. That's not legal. And make sure whatever way that your software is storing the cards is compliant. And basically, because if they get hacked, you don't want the liability of that. You want them to have it. And most places require that you have something in writing that they have signed stating the policies and the authorization to charge in order to do the no-show fee, which I know sounds really silly. But again, when Square or whoever comes back and says, oh, they didn't authorize this charge, again, you have all those layers of the no call, no show, the policies. They were very keenly aware. So, and again, remember to have some grace. We've all had bad days where we screwed up, we were late, we got sick. And being able to add notes to your clients, that is something that you can have. That way, if like I said, I have a client that I literally reschedule her every month. She's just a hot mess. Someone's always dying. So I know who she is and I make a plan on how I schedule her. and have a script sometimes if you are going to let someone slide that is both respectful and firm. Because if they're going to no call, no show, and it's because, let's say, their kids are sick, and that's something you can say, like, thank you so much. This one time I can definitely let it go. I understand. I would write, I understand I'm a mother. I know sometimes you don't always have an option when you have very sick kids. It is flu season. That said, I would, because this is how I talk to my clients, I would say something to the effect of, we don't make any money if we don't come to work. So it's really important to give us enough time to fill those spots. So we would just greatly appreciate, if you think you're going to have to reschedule, I'd rather you reschedule than have you call same day, because I can't always afford to, let it slide. And, some people may disagree with that. I tend to be a little bit more honest with my clients and very matter of fact. That is my brand. Everyone has their own brand. Some people are more peppy and more sweet and more kind, and some people are really firm. However you do it is up to you. But I like having a script for that. I'm sure I have a script somewhere, because then I don't have to worry about me being emotional and being angry, because sometimes you're pretty pissed off, especially like the lady that keeps that everyone's dying. She's got 3 Persians. It's like $350. So when she cancels, it's a pain in my ass, because it really is. Like, I normally book 3 clients before her and she's the 4th appointment. We normally do 5 appointments. So I lose quite a bit of money. And generally now I try to book her on a day where, again, she's last, and I probably have anywhere between, like a 2-cat household and then another cat, and then one more cat. So then it's either a 4-day cat day or a 7-day cat day, which again stinks, but the cats are wonderful, so it's not worth firing her over. And that also brings it to another point. So I know these things, but if I have an employee who books appointments and works with clients, who's going to enforce these? So I personally, in my mobile business, would not want my employee to contact these clients and deal with this, because they're not trained on the nuances of what I'm willing to let slide for no call, no shows, and what I want them to enforce. If you have not trained your groomers, your staff, whoever is up front, what is allowed to slide and what is not, don't put them up there to fail. They're not trained enough on your policies and how you want them enforced. Again, unless if my employee was always with me when I'm rescheduling clients like this, they wouldn't know that client wouldn't be charged 50 to 100%. And to me, it's not worth it for that client to charge them that whole amount. To me, it's easy to just let it slide and reschedule them, which is completely different than 90% of my clients. But the truth is that her 3 cats take me about an hour and a half. So when my other clients have 3 cats, it take me an hour and a half, and I basically make like $125 an hour. More than that. That's a lot of money. I don't even know how much I make. I make buku bucks. And she tips really well. Like, she tips like $100. Like, it is a sweet, sweet day. So that's why I'm willing to let her slide. My employee would have no idea. They wouldn't understand the ins and outs of this. And even then, they might be like, well, is that really fair? And I'm like, meh, it's my business. I'm going to let it slide. And you don't want to throw your employee to the wolves. You really don't. Because there's nothing worse as an employee, and I've had this happen when I've been an employee, where you fight a client on a policy because you're doing your job and enforcing it, and then the owner turns around and like throws you under the bus. And they're like, oh, well, this is a great client, so we're going to let this slide. And you're like, you told me to handle this and do this, and I did it, and now you make me look like the bad guy. That's not fair, is it? Nobody wants to be that person. So I want to like open up the comments. If you guys have anything you want to ask, want me to expose, or, really talk about more, I know a lot of the things I talked about can also be talked about as far as just normal customer stuff, not just as necessarily no shows and no calls. But for me, the main thing about no call, no shows is you have to remember you have to decide how you want to be treated. How do you want to handle it? And that comes down to sticking to your guns or acknowledging that some clients, no matter what you do, are always going to be kind of crazy and flighty and that pain in the ass client. And there has to be a reason why you're willing to tolerate it. I would never give that client personally to an employee simply because they would drive my employee nuts. Where I'm like, meh, this isn't that bad. But I might have been in the industry 10 years plus. Actually, oh my God, almost 15 years. I'm old. And it doesn't bother me because I make up on the back end. But I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate it. I hope this has answered all of your questions and given you some strategies to deal with your no call, no shows, how to gain loyalty, how to make customers feel appreciated so that way they don't bounce between different groomers. They show up when they've made an appointment. And maybe you can create a better relationship with them in order to have them come in, show up, and hopefully continue to bring more people in with them. The best clients I have, they have word of mouth. They generally have friends with similar cats or similar situations. And that's how we grow a great business. And then you are able to fire the clients that want to play footsie with your business and want to no call, no show. And as far as deposits and other things like that, I want to also add really quickly, please remember, if you're going to do that, make sure it's part of your business model. A high-end business can take deposits and they can ask for credit cards on file. I wouldn't personally let Walmart have a card on file. I wouldn't let McDonald's have a card on file. I think a perfect example is how many of us have the McDonald's app. They have an app where you can order food. I personally don't trust McDonald's to have. I would rather, if I really want it, then I will go through the drive-through. But Starbucks has my money. Like I load that thing up like hundreds of dollars at a time. I'm like, you can just put hundreds of bucks on there. I trust you guys. You're not going to lose my money. I'm not going to worry about it. So I trust Starbucks because there are more in my. It's funny because McDonald's is this great conglomerate, this amazing business. They really are. But I personally trust Starbucks more. Why? It's just perception, and honestly, I really like the fact that when I walk into Starbucks, they know my drink and they say, "Hi, River, how's your day?" And they make me feel welcome. So I want to thank you guys so much again, so much for being here. I hope you had a great time talking about no calls, no shows, no respect. Feel free again to like, comment, subscribe so you never miss a video. I will see you guys again next week, Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time here for our next topic. If you guys want to talk about this, when you can go ahead and comment, please feel free. If you guys have any ideas that you want me to explore in my Grow Wealthy Grooming show each week, feel free to either put in comments below, go to my Facebook, which is facebook.com/Grow Wealthy Grooming. You can also check out my website, which is savvygroomer.com, in order to go ahead and sign up for my online course, which is Personal Finance Unleashed, which is a 12-week online course teaching you how to get your personal finances under control. All right, guys, you have a great week and happy grooming.